Today's speaker is Seth Feinstein. Seth is presenting on the Pikes Peak Monster and other anomalies. So, Seth Feinstein grew up in a family of artists. His uncle was a professional fashion designer, and his father did sculptures and paintings. Now he works out of his own art studio doing custom gun stock carvings. His love of working with wood led him to learn how to do lathe and making large foot knockers. Having worked with pottery for over 30 years, he now has 4 kilns and a large raku oven for his Japanese-style pottery. Seth is also on the board of Colorado Cowboys, which is a single-action shooting society club. Seth participates in local, regional, and state competitions. Besides his art, Feinstein and his wife, Anniversary, who's also a field investigator, are members of and certified field investigators with the Mutual UFO Network, where they investigate UFO sightings and collect data in the MUFON database for use by researchers worldwide. Seth is a prominent member of the MUFON photo analysis team. I first met Seth and I crossed paths a number of years ago at the MUFON Symposium. And then we actually crossed paths again at the Star Wars USA. And he said, "Oh, I know you from the symposium." So we got to chatting and stuff. And him and his wife are just great people. So every year I go to the symposium. Seth is always there. Always good to catch up with him and chat with him. Him and his wife just big supporters of MUFON. Seth is a state director, and boy, his wife, I think, is state director for like 5 different states or so, a lot of different states. So
10 states.
10 states. Okay.
Well, yeah, she's the CAG director. So
Don't tell her I shorted her any states, though. I don't want her mad at me. So they just do, or they're so involved, and it's such a privilege to have them here presenting for us today. So please, Minnesota MUFON, give a big Minnesota MUFON welcome to Seth Feinstein. And Seth, take it away.
hello, Minnesota MUFON. It's a pleasure to be here to be with you today. And so a good day for myself and my wife is 4 to 5 hours of MUFON. And a bad day is 8 to 10 hours of MUFON. We are totally engrossed in doing the MUFON mission to benefit the world and make the world a better place with UFO investigations. My wife is the CAG director. Her name is Anniversary. It's not her anniversary, that's her name. And my name is Seth, and I'm also the Northwest Regional Director, as well as the Colorado State Director. But my most favorite thing of all is photo analysis. And because, as you know, I'm an art person, and my actual degree is in photography and filmmaking. And I spent my whole working career doing none of that. And now I analyze videos and images for UFOs, trying to authenticate and identify them. I've done over 350 different photo analysis over the last 4 years, most of them for MUFON cases, but people outside of MUFON come to me for work too. And that really is the photo analysis is really what drives me to be very happy as a MUFON person. So what we have in our Colorado MUFON is that today is our state meeting, and we have Mike Cleland is speaking on his contact and experiences, and Al's in the other room. We have 65 visitors in the room hearing his speech. And at the very beginning of each speaker event we have, I do a short presentation, 20 to 30-minute presentation of cases of interest and also weird news. And so what I've got is this month and last month's presentations coming up. So I'm going to pull it up and share my screen. So a very important event occurred. The News Nation exclusive. Have all of you seen this Russ Coulthard News Nation egg video retrieval? This is a very important story because there's a new whistleblower, the ultimate whistleblower, Jake Barber, and the story was broken by News Nation. And I'll play a little bit of this.
UAP craft retrieval program. This extraordinary footage clearly shows an egg-shaped object dangling in a sling below the belly of the helicopter. slow this down to take a closer look. That's an egg-shaped UAP suspended from a 150-foot long line. We're told the craft is about 20 feet long. The egg suspended in a cradle. And look how careful the pilot is as they bring their precious cargo into land. Let's freeze frame here to look at one of the clearest images of a UAP ever taken. This is no blurry light in a distant sky. The source of the footage putting themselves at incredible risk to record this UAP retrieval. Look at how perfectly smooth the craft is. No markings at all, and no visible means of propulsion or way to see inside. Watch how it rolls, almost graceful as it hits the ground, despite being wrapped in the ropes and canvas from the cradle as it's dropped for pickup. The UAP's final destination still unknown.
Okay. Now, Robert Spearing, our DOII, asked his college buddy, the mathematical genius, to do measurements. And the width and length ratio for the UFO is 77.8%. A quail egg is 77.1%. That is really close to a bird egg shape. A chicken egg is 71%. David Toon, field investigator of Florida. As a former Army helicopter pilot, I can say without a doubt this video did not involve a helicopter. I estimate the distance between the egg and the helicopter to be approximately 100 feet. Any cargo helicopter, including UH-1 Huey, UH-60 Blackhawk, CH-47 Chinook, would have a significant rotor wash to disturb the cable with visible cable waves and rocking motion. Matt Kellison, our Florida state director. Oops, spelled Florida wrong there. Fix that spelling. I agree with David. I did a lot of vert reps in the Coast Guard, both as an air crew and a ground crew on MH-65 and 60s, MH-60s. Even on the smaller helicopters, the rotor wash is ridiculous, even at 150 feet. There are so many unanswered questions, like what type of airframe was Jake Barber supposedly flying? His DD-214 is also pretty sparse and shows he still has some enlisted when he separated. So where did he go for flight training? Also curious how much this thing supposedly weighs. Actually, Jake Barber in another interview said it weighed less than 5,000 pounds. That was the capacity of his helicopter. You'd think that would have come up to the interview, since it's probably the single most important thing to know when doing a sling load at night. And why not show the cargo release? The whole thing smells fishy. I do have one interesting thought about the shadow that might provide some new analysis in the future, especially checking for AI-generated videos. I don't think the egg video is clear enough for this to help, but I just wanted to share what I'm thinking for future images and videos as just one more tool to consider when a situation is appropriate. The sun disk is half a degree wide, and the way it works is the light from all the surfaces of the sun's spherical surface are just as bright as all the other points. This means that the edges of the shadows from the sun are never perfectly sharp. They are blurry depending on several factors. The blurriness extends in a triangular way, such that the further the object, the fuzzier the edges of the shadow. We don't notice or think about this normally, but this fact can help with photo analysis. If the egg video were clearer, we would make sure the shadow got fuzzier when the egg was further from the ground. And if it doesn't, then it might be AI generated. John Craig, he's a Colorado MUFON scientist here in Colorado. What he's stating is, well, first, the shadow doesn't move correctly, as would be the case of the egg. As the egg moves and comes to the ground, the shadow is not moving the way it should be moving. And the second thing is the edges are all pretty crisp. which may be an indication that the shadow was, or the video itself was AI created. Jake states at the 23 mark of the interview that was done. So there was, they showed this video, and then they did a number of interviews with people of the whistleblowers, and they also did a number of interviews with people who did testimonials for Jake. And they did a 2.57-hour video interview of Jake himself. And he says, I'm happy to say that we are moving forward in an official and transparent capacity to explore the answers to these questions that there appears to be no evidence for. And our number one goal now is to function in a private capacity with the backing of venture capitalists in coordination with some key departments within the government in order to start answering these questions in a transparent way related to the UAP topic. Early in the video, it was stated that Jake would share images of the egg retrieval that were in his possession, but these were not shown. I was looking forward to these images being posted so I could make copies and do an analysis on this, but it never occurred. Jake was unable to control his flickering, his eyeballs, when asked about his participation in the egg retrieval operation. At the 45-minute time, his eyeballs twitched uncontrollably. Was this an unconspicuous sign that he was not being able to tell the truth about the event? Russ Coulthard kept pressing Jake on how he felt picking up the egg-shaped non-terrestrial craft. He looked to the right. In body language, looking to the right typically suggests tapping into creativity or constructing something new. Looking to the left means the witness is recalling an event that occurred. Jake's body language indicated that he was fabricating detail or imagining an event. At the 2:13 mark of the full interview that Ross Coulthard had with Jake, Jake says his organization was going to have accountability, but not transparency. Did Jake misspeak, or did he make a subliminal confession? So this is the first part. And then we go into the second part. Hang on. MUFON, the PAT team, there were 5 of us on the team. And they put out the case to the PAT. They say, analyze this video. And what we try to do is authenticate and identify. And so 4 of the 5 of us believe that this was not an authentic video of a helicopter scene. And this is what was posted on YouTube by Ron James, our media director.
Access granted. This is a MUFON TV special report. Recently, there have been a couple of videos released claiming to have retrieval of objects of non-human origins. MUFON's photo and video analysis team is the best in the world when it comes to UAPs. Let's hear what they have to say.
Last week, Russ Coulthard, an Australian UFO researcher and television personality, along with News Nation, a network, had a 2-hour special where they introduced the world to a whistleblower named Jacob Barber. During the 2-hour presentation, News Nation shows the world a very short, less than a minute video in night vision that seems to be a helicopter with a tow line picking up or dropping an egg-shaped UFO reported to be about 20 feet long and 8 or 9 feet wide. The problem with the video obtained independently by News Nation, not by the whistleblower, is that we have no metadata. We don't know where the video was shot. We don't know when the video was shot. And Mr. Coulthard and News Nation have not released that information. That makes it very hard for the public to judge if we're looking at something real or if we're looking at a possible hoax or staged event. However, MUFON has a 6-man crack photo analysis team, and to the best of their ability, they're going to give you an idea of what we might be looking at based on what we can actually see and what we can actually hear in the video. The head of the MUFON photo analysis team is Mark D'Antonio. Mark is a longtime UFO researcher. He is a television personality. He is an astronomer, and he is a photo and video expert. So we'll begin with Mark.
I wanted to tell you, I looked at this big video, and one of the things that I felt right away was that a whole bunch of questions were just flooding into my mind. Things like, why is it being set down in a field somewhere? Why aren't there any other vehicles or personnel surrounding it like you'd expect? Why isn't it being set down in a place that's invisible to prying eyes in a field? That makes no sense. Why isn't it being set down at a military facility, right? I mean, that's true too. And they say it's night vision, but this doesn't ring true either, other than the color. I've seen night vision. I've worked on night vision videos and analyzed many a night vision video. And we're seeing what looks like a filter that is making it look like night vision, but it was something done during the day made to look like it's at night. That's what I'm feeling right now. And part of that is the shadow of the object. If you look at the shadow, it's a very sharp edge shadow of the object. And you can say, well, they could have lights on the thing. Sure, they could, but where are they? If it's that big, why aren't they closer? Why are the lights? Are they a mile away, half a mile away, 400 feet away? Doesn't make any sense. So the shadows are wrong. Now I can say, well, as an astronomer, I'll look at the moon and say, hey, well, this could be like a full moonlight when the moon is like just rising. But that doesn't ring true either, because there's no other indication in the video of light from anything other than something on that object. So it has to be a spotlight of some kind. But there's no hotspot anywhere in the video indicating where the light may be coming from off frame, because the source of the light would certainly be visible to the night vision system that high up in the helicopter, and you'd see a hotspot just off the view. I think Dennis mentioned the navigation lights would flash, and yes, they would. But let's say they had them off, you would still get the hotspot. That's true. If that's true, then all that's true, then I don't find this to be very credible. The other thing is, we're hearing a sound, like, okay, let's make it a helicopter sound. Technical cameras, downward looking, technical cameras like this, number one, would not have sound associated with them. They usually don't. And number two, they wouldn't be in such an impractical location. They're right next to the cable. So you actually see the thickness of the cable blocking a lot of the important view. So this doesn't make any sense to me. So there's a lot of things wrong with this. And so I think that, based on all that and seeing the input from the fantastic photo analysis team as well, my personal feeling is that this is either a hoax or it's a recreation, and a bad one at that, of an event that may or may not have taken place. And Bob, you rightly called out the as well as others, that the shape is really the perfect chicken egg proportions. So what it is, I can't tell you, but I am calling it a hoax. I'm probably, if I assign a percentage, which I like to try and do now all the time, I'd say this is 98% hoax. And I only leave the 2% just on the off chance. But 98% is pretty good. If you had 98% odds that a surgery would go bad, you wouldn't have the surgery. Okay, so that's it. I think my feeling is it's a hoax.
Next up, we have Seth Feinstein. Seth Feinstein is the MUFON Colorado State Director. He has a BA in film production. He also runs the MUFON Photo Forensics Boot Camp, which will be held this year in Cripple Creek, Colorado, from May 16th through the 18th. Information on that is available in our biweekly newsletter. What do you have for us, Seth?
I have some problems with the recent News Nation broadcast with Ross Coulthard, where he states the obtained footage from a secret UAP program, an egg-shaped non-terrestrial object is being carried by a helicopter and dropped into a field. The helicopter was piloted by whistleblower Jacob Barber. Military helicopters film with infrared and in this case with night vision. The cameras on the field of view should have cast an overall murky lime green hue that does not appear in this footage. There are no strobing or aviation lights visible throughout this entire footage. A spotlight under the helicopter is focused on the ground, yet the egg casts a shadow off to the right. That means that there was a second spotlight near the ground level to the left to illuminate the egg object. We hear a helicopter sound, but nothing else in the video indicates that a helicopter was present. No ground disturbance can be viewed from the whirling blades, nor do we see any shadows from the rotating blades above. This egg-shaped object in tow looks to be about the size of a 20-foot by 8-foot object. And an object of this size would have some weight to it. Let's say maybe 1 to 3 tons of weight. Now, when the object is dropped gently on the ground and it does not plop or does it indent the soil, instead it falls on its side and then rolls. The path behind it shows no signs of any alteration to the ground soil. We do not have the original footage where we can authenticate and validate that this footage has not been altered, but this does not affect my conclusion. This film appears to be a studio-created event, using a bird's egg to represent a full-size non-terrestrial flying egg-shaped craft. After numerous broadcasts, recordings, and public statements made that this video is authentic, Richard Dolan has come out and said that this footage was a reenactment. Whomever engineered this whistleblower event must have figured out that the event could easily be debunked. This video is a hoax.
Next up, we have Sam Maranto. Sam Maranto is a longtime MUFON field investigator. He is also our Illinois state director. He also has a media background, decades in photo and video analysis.
This is Sam Maranto, and this is my cursory analysis of the video that was attached to the News Nation whistleblower piece that was just released not too long ago by Ross Coulthard, who was the investigative reporter. The individual who is the witness, the whistleblower, the relevance to the video is that he was a special operations helicopter pilot who did transport and transportation of sensitive objects, retrievals, be it mechanical, man-made, high-tech, novel, exotic, and what is also known as UAP. Now, in this instance, they attached a piece of footage, video footage in there, and it wasn't very long. It was relatively short, a few seconds. And that video was of a special operations helicopter retrieval. And of this retrieval, you could see from the belly hatch a tow line, and that tow line going to a sling. And in this sling, which is about 150 feet long, that tow line, there is a ovaloidal egg-shaped object. There's no discrepancy there. It is sitting in this sling, and that appears to be a netted sling on higher resolution and analysis. I did some analysis. I've done some carve out of from the video, and also of a carve out done by Greg Sisko. In both of those, I was able to receive, or I should say in many of those, I was able to retrieve detail of netting, which would be exactly the type of sling that you would use for such an object. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that this object is somewhere in the range of 20 feet long, and it is an egg-shaped object. It is not an egg, so to get that out of your mind, anybody thinking that it is not an animal egg, be it a chicken or a platypus, it's not an egg. It's just a shape, ovaloidal type shape of object. Now, as far as that video, apparently it came from a separate UAP retrieval operation, and it was highly sensitive. It was attained directly and independently by News Nation. It was not that of the operation that the new whistleblower had mentioned. This was something entirely separate. Now, there are issues as far as some folks thinking that because it was a night operation, apparently, it's a night vision, it's in green night vision, which would be the green phosphor versus, say, for instance, the white phosphor, which is being used today in the night vision goggles used by the pilots and crew. They actually fly with night vision. And in fact, the funny thing about it is if you're not using it for some period of time, you have to be retrained after X number of days if you haven't been flying with it. It is very complicated from what I've been reading. So when you're looking at this video, it is green. Now, it doesn't mean that this could have been a daytime operation and somebody could have filtered it with a software that does make it look like a night vision type of video. That can be done. Being as we have absolutely no access to this information, no idea where it was shot, how it was shot, what it was shot by, if it was the camera in, say, for instance, the belly of the cargo area in the helicopter, we don't know. We have no idea whatsoever. So all these things remain a mystery. The only information we have is what everybody else sees on TV and on YouTube. The only difference is we were jointly asked to evaluate it, and that's why I say it's a cursory analysis on my part, and everybody's actually. And my opinion is that we need more information to make a decisive evaluation to some degree. And at best, it could be evidence of a UAP, but it isn't anything substantiating that it is or is not. I don't see anything here in particular suggestive of a hoax. In good faith, I know that Ross Coulthard would not do that, and I'm sure he did a very good job analyzing and looking into the veracity of what was being submitted. But trust also needs to be evaluated. So I'm sure he did that. And that's where I stand right now on this. And I guess in a couple of days, he's going to be coming out with a longer version of this interview. And I hope in this version, he will be able to have that witness confirm that this does look like what he had seen, because that isn't in the initial presentation that I seen on News Nation, unless somehow it was edited out. I didn't see him confirming that or saying a critique or giving a critique either way. But I look forward to seeing this new interview or this new length of the interview, and hopefully Jake, the new whistleblower witness, could come forward and tell us one way or another what he thinks of that video. And thank you.
Finally, we have Greg Cisco. Greg Cisco is a state section director for MUFON in Illinois. He is an astrophotographer. He is a longtime MUFON field investigator, and he was also spent 40 years at Fermilab as part of their IT security team. Greg has a slightly different take than the other team members, so we'll finish up with Greg. Greg, tell us the way you see it.
The video in question was the big reveal on the UFO special from January 18, 2025, with Jacob Barber as a helicopter pilot who worked allegedly with he claims, with the Legacy program, and his job was to move things around up and down the range. In some cases it was boxes, in some cases it was an egg. The egg in this particular video was not one that Jacob Barber himself picked up. It wasn't a video from Jacob Barber himself. It was another video, apparently from another mission. That's what we're led to believe. There's nothing in the video that the photo analysis team or myself personally has that can tell the time, the date. We have no metadata. We have nothing except the video that everybody saw on the TV screen. And there is no way to tell whether that particular video was real or not. But what the video actually does do quite well is it illustrates what was alleged that the Legacy program does. And it was basically that the Legacy program has an effort to capture, collect, and reverse engineer vehicles of a non-human origin. And in some cases, those vehicles do include biologics, and that is the big deal, along with the technology, right? So ironically, Lou Elizondo basically wrote the exact same thing, same idea in his book Imminent, and that was on page 244. That anybody that has the book, go ahead and check out page 244 and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You know, it could be a hoax, it could be fake, we just really don't know. But the one thing I can tell you is the one reason why I am not going that route 100% is because of the USS Nimitz and the Tic Tac video. So as many will remember, in December of 2017, the New York Times released a story about ATIP and the USS Nimitz incident and the famous Tic Tac with Commander Fravor. And it turns out that they also released some videos along with that story. And the Tic Tac video in particular, it turns out, was released on the internet in 2007, 10 years before the ATIP story came out. It was released on a German website. People on the website Above Top Secret, I guess, were talking about it. And it turns out that there was a lot of back and forth about whether it was faked, whether it was hoaxed. And it's basically the same as what we're going through here on the egg. It turns out that 10 years later, that video comes out. The government and the Pentagon confirmed that that was a real Department of Defense video, and whatever that Tic Tac object was unknown.
Finally, I'd like to add that we also did an analysis of the dimensions of the egg-shaped object in the video. It appears that lengthwise compared to widthwise, the width is about 77.1% of the length. We compared this to various bird eggs, and we found that those dimensions approximate very, very closely a quail's egg. Whether or not we're looking at a quail's egg is not for us to determine, but all of the information we have presented to you today is for you to come to your own conclusions about. So with that, I'd like to say, if you see something, report it to MUFON. You can go to our website, fund.
Okay. All right. Well, so we posted that. That's on YouTube. It was posted by Ron James. After that was posted, I'm calling it the Egg Video Drama Take Two. MUFON response, the expert testimony, the Pentagon, and the email drama. We were MUFON media director Ron James set up a podcast for Matt, the state director of Florida, myself, and Craig Sisko to discuss our testimony on the egg video. Matt Kellison was the first on. While he was on in the chat, I could see that Greg Sisko was going to debate my findings. I used the half hour to review my 30 pages of notes. When we came on, Greg gave his testimony on why he did not care if the video was authentic and stated he was the dissenting investigator and that the four others who did a report thought the video was not authentic. What Greg was basing his opinion on was the Leonard Stringfield research, where he had a egg video that was approximately 30 feet in length, and the egg craft that Stringfield said had nearly no weight to it. But in this case, Jake Barber stated that the object weighed something below 5,000 pounds because that was the capacity of tow for the helicopter he was flying. And, this image here is a picture that Jake Barber alleges is a picture of the egg, which they summoned in through psionics. And that the object was moving at a speed of 10,000 miles per hour. So the other thing, Greg and I are friends, and we continued our debate for about 2.5 hours the next morning. Anyway, so it's kind of nice that the way the PAT works is we all use scientific methods and the things that we specialize in to come up with our own opinion. And I do believe it is an opinion, and occasionally we all agree, and sometimes we don't all agree. We could have different opinions. So after the MUFON YouTube post and the Jeremy Scott podcast into the paranormal, all of a sudden, the Pentagon has revealed that it is now investigating claims made by a government contractor that he retrieved a crashed egg-shaped UFO. Now, I can't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure the idea came from some of the research that was posted by MUFON and also the podcast that we were on. So what did we do? Well, the Jesse Michael podcast posted other images of a helicopter and an egg retrieval video, which is, if it's not real, it's an extensive and costly production. So we have an egg retrieval in the above photo, and we have inside a helicopter in the other one, as well as the previous shot of the egg, which is supposedly the egg traveling 10,000 miles per hour. But what is interesting is the photos that were posted on the Jesse Michael podcast are completely different than what was in the video for the egg retrieval. And as the state director of Colorado, and we have a pretty good website, it's comufon.org. Some of you might want to check it out. But I get usually a contact us or an email daily, and I answer every email I get. And so some guy named Tom Calcaro, if any of you know who he is, please let me know. Send me an email and let me know who he is. But I don't know him. And he wrote a very nice inquiry or email, and I sent him back my answers. But copied on the email was my wife's anniversary, Tom Wertman, Chris DeBerno, and 2 other unidentified emails. So this is what happened next. The image that you're seeing here is actually the image of the retrieval that was posted on the Jesse Michaels podcast. Jesse Michael also did about a 2-hour interview with Jake Barber subsequent to the Ross Coulthard interview. And so here what we have is looking out the side of the helicopter. And the difference between this looking out the side of the helicopter and the one that was posted by News Nation is you could see parts of the helicopter here. So not only in this video, you see parts of the helicopter out the window. In the other video, you see no helicopter out the window. And in this video, you see the shadows of the whirring blades as they're going around outside the helicopter. In the other video, you don't see any shadows of any blades whirring outside the vehicle. So after let me go back one. I got this Tom Calcaro. So I sent him back a very nice email answering his questions. And 5 minutes later, I get this. Hello, Seth. Ross Coulthard here, News Nation correspondent. As you know, I made the original Jake Barber story. I'm copied into this email, and I've been following your extraordinary unfair assertions made below. So what I did was getting that email, I could feel my blood pressure shoot up in the sky. And I needed to make sure that that reply really came from Ross Coulthard. So what I did was I emailed back Mr. Calcaro, and I said in the email, who is this person at the Proton email, and who are you? And he replied, you know who he is. He emailed back to you and copied me. So based on this occurring and this being an international media contact, I had to follow the State Director Handbook and contact our media director. So the clause in the State Director Handbook says we must refer, should a member receive a media request outside of this process, they must direct these media requests to be referred to media@mufon.com. No member shall reply to these requests until cleared by HQ. Standard reply is as follows. So I contacted Ron James. I was on a call with Ron James and Robert Spearing. I had to explain myself, and they realized I did not initiate contact with Ross Coulthard on my own, and I was not granted any permission to reply to the Ross Coulthard email, and I was further informed to stay away from this Tom Calcaro dude. Our media director corresponded with both the entities, and the final outcome of the correspondence is, Ron James did inform Ross that we did contact him, that we were doing this investigation, and that we tried to do it with him and involve him and get the original video, and he did not answer. So in the final on this call between Ron James and Ross Coulthard, Ross agreed to send us the original video for MUFON to perform a conclusive assessment. Now, this was probably about 10 days ago, and I don't think we have the video yet. So I don't know if we're going to get it, but we have a promise to get it. Ross interviewed, as part of this story, which he said he put together for over a year, he interviewed 3 former military for Jake Barber testimonials. Retired Lieutenant Colonel John Blitch, who is now a PhD, Fred Baker, U.S. Air Force Special Warfare veteran, and Don Valls, the elite 82nd Airborne Unit. And John Blitch is an award-winning research scientist and former professor with a diverse wealth of experience, a small business owner, corporate vice president, nonprofit director, advanced research program manager, a retired lieutenant colonel with an unprecedented 5 command tours spanning nuclear weapons delivery, special operations, and hostage rescue. This guy is amazing. And then we have Fred Baker, is a highly respected figure in the U.S. Air Force Combat Control and Special Operations community. His 20-year career in Air Force 24th Special Tactics Squadron, an elite Tier 1 unit, culminated in his retirement with a Master Sergeant. Baker's expertise lies in air-ground communication, including air traffic control, fire support, and command control. Then we have Don Paul Bowles. He's of the elite 82nd Airborne Unit. He is now called the MMA Sensei. He has an amazing military special forces career, and he also took on a corrupt police department in his region. He's a very brave man. All 3 of these people are people who were born with a special purpose. They're all warriors. They're all people who, they're all heroes. They're amazing people. And these are the people that Ross Coulthard used to get testimonials on Jake Barber. The testimonials confirm that Jake is who he says he is and that he is a trustworthy person. What the testimonials did not confirm was knowledge of his participation in the egg retrieval event. Okay, so I looked up Jake Barber on LinkedIn, and I also looked at his Facebook, and this is the picture of the guy who came up. I don't know if it's him when he was like 18 years old or whatever, but it doesn't look like Jake Barber. And I don't know what that means. It's just a fact. Okay, Jake's vision is for disclosure. He says his team will be a catalyst to pave the way for peaceful disclosure. Jake says this will happen within the next year. The government and contractors he is working with will utilize his team to disclose everything other than what is a matter of national security. Okay, so in the long interview, Ross Coulthard kept pressing Jake on how he felt when he picked up the non-terrestrial aircraft, because Jake said he felt love, he felt fear, he felt that there was a psychic connection made or whatever. But Ross Coulthard kept cueing him over and over and over again, and then finally he teared up. And I'll just say that that's what happened. I recommend looking at the 2-hour and 57-minute long video interview, and also looking at the Jesse Michael interview for those of you who have further interest in determining if this is a real event. These are quotes from Jake Barber in the interview. We plan to produce evidence with our teams, which we have used for years within the legacy program and machine-based technology. We are backed by venture capital and are also working with all the equipment, which kind of has to be blessed. Well, let me miss that. Blessed, brought in when it is a psionic-led operation. So what he's saying is his team has developed the technology through using mechanical psionics and human psionics to call in these crafts and force them to crash so that they can capture them. Early in the 2-hour and 57-minute full interview, it was stated that they would share additional images of the egg pickup. No images were shown. These are the images that I posted from the Jesse Michael podcast interview. Why are these images of the egg retrieval so different between the two podcasts? So we have the one on the left and we have the one on the right. So the one on the left is the News Nation production. The one on the right is the production that was provided to the Jesse Michaels people. And if you look, the egg on the left is more flat on the top and pointy on the bottom, and the egg on the right is more pointy on both ends. So I don't know what it means. So you have the two helicopter shots, which I talked before. This is the News Nation one, where you see nothing of the helicopter. You see no blades whirring. You have no splash from the blades. In the helicopter shot to the left, you see parts of the helicopter looking out the same view. You see splash in the air from the blades, and as it moves along, you see the shadows of the blades propelled in the foreground too. So are these really both helicopters? You look at the ground on the News Nation video, and there's no variations in height. There's no divots. The egg, when it hits the ground, does not make an imprint. As it rolls, it does not mark down the grass, push down the grass in any way, which leads me to believe that it is artificial turf. There's no variation, no height, no change in elevation, no bumps. It's all, to me, it looks like they rolled out a carpet of AstroTurf on a cement floor, which to me means a studio production. At the 2:13 mark of the full Russ Coulthard video, Jake states his organization was going to have accountability, but not transparency. And I said, what? So he said, did he misspeak or did he make a confession? What can we conclude and what is my opinion? Jake Barber is who he says he is, and his background per the testimonials is accurate. This venture is an entrepreneurial endeavor utilizing his experience and his contacts. I do not believe he has the influence to cause disclosure within the next year, and the egg retrieval video as shown on News Nation is a studio production, not an authentic event. I am open to updating my opinion if the data is present to prove otherwise. So that's my talk on the egg, and this was another one of the eggs produced for the Jesse Michael show. So I'm just thinking that as we're talking here, I'm thinking that maybe they were promised to be posted in the 2.5 hour interview with Russ Coulthard, but somebody figured out that it doesn't match what they broadcast. It would add too many questions to put it up. But anyway,
And before, if anyone hasn't raised their hand yet, I was kind of curious where they said they could use psionics to, bring a craft down and then capture it. You said that, and I was like, that sounds like a really, really, really dangerous game. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, it's dangerous, but it's unethical.
Oh, yeah, agreed. Yeah.
I mean, it's a hostile warlike activity.
Yeah, totally, totally. Well, Brad has his hand up, so I'm going to ask him to unmute so he can chat with you briefly. Brad, you should get a request to unmute.
Yes, thank you. I have a question. Have you tried analyzing what that rope structure is that's connecting the alleged helicopter with the egg? And if it is a studio creation, the whole thing, where we're using thread, string, braided I don't know what. Have you looked at that?
Yeah, well, yes, actually, Matt Kellison analyzed the cable that's coming down, and he did a detailed analysis on the podcast that we were on, and he explains exactly what it is. And that is the what is it called? Well, it's the podcast that we were on with hang on. If you I don't remember what I wrote in there right now, you know. But it's in the podcast. Matt goes over it. Or if you want, you could email Matt for his Matt Kellis and look him up as the Florida State Director. But he does go over the detail on that.
Yeah, and Lou has his hand up, and Lou, looks like you're already unmuted. So Lou, go for it.
Am I coming through?
You are coming through.
Well, two questions. Where in the world or in the country was this location supposed to have taken place? And secondly, has anybody figured out what the hell the egg would be?
Well, I have two unique experiences. One is I have been in a field in Wyoming. I don't know if you guys know about from the Rocky Mountain UFO conference that used to be Leo Sprinkle's conference. And there's McGuire Ranch, which was a place that's owned by a ranch that's owned by the university. It was owned by a rancher named McGuire, and he couldn't find water to water his cattle. And he was visited by extraterrestrials, and they told him where to drill for water. And he spent his whole life ostracized because he talked about it and I guess didn't know better in rural Wyoming not to talk about it. But I was in a field with 4 people, and we had landings of egg-shaped craft. There were 7 or 8 of them that all of a sudden appeared in the field that we were in, and they were all around us. And the closest one was maybe 50 feet from us. So I had seen actually egg-shaped crafts that were about 20 feet in length, the long length, 20 by 8 or so. So my experience from that was that the egg in the video that was broadcast by Russ Coulthart was more rounded at the top and pointy on the bottom, and the ones that I saw were equally pointy on both ends. And then the second experience that I have that is different than that is than most people is my neighbor is Lieutenant retired Major Boucher from the Air Force, and he ran a team of crash retrieval team for the U.S. Air Force for about 13 years. And he said everything that his team retrieved was all explainable, and most of it was parts of Russian satellites coming down. So I think that having retrieval of non-terrestrial crafts is a very rare thing. And did I answer your question, or did I get carried away and go the wrong way?
Well, I mean, what's inside that egg?
Well, what I heard, okay, so where did it take place was part of your question. And what I heard was this is a rumor from the research I did, but it was at it was in California at it was Grumman. What's the other name Grumman uses too? It was at a Grumman facility in California. That's what I heard. Northrop Grumman. Is that what they go by now?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what do you think is inside?
Well, what I heard was they have a captured egg and that they couldn't get into it. They tried everything to get into it. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, so two other cases I did that were not really MUFON cases. I did the Las Vegas alien case, and I did the 20-foot creature scaling Long's Peak in Colorado. Have you guys heard anything about that? Let me pull that up.
The Las Vegas one was big for a while. That was kind of an interesting one.
Yeah, that'll take a little more time. What happened there was I did a full investigation on it and for the Las Vegas case, and I actually through photo forensics was able to screen print a shot of from the police cam before the police it was redacted. The police cam video that was part of the $6.5 million viral posting on YouTube and was part of every news agency's production was redacted. And I had made still shots from it and was able to, through photo forensics, find that there was a probably a 7 to 8 foot, 7 to 8 foot humanoid figures in the back of the backyard where the police faced their camera. And so that's pretty fascinating, but that's not a short presentation.
Right, right.
And what happened there was last year at I was working the MUFON exhibit or booth at the in California at Contact in the Desert last year, and next to us in the booth was this really tough looking guy. And he pulled out his wallet, and I saw a Las Vegas Metro Police badge in there. And so I went up to him and I said, "Sir," I say, "are you a police officer for Las Vegas Metro Police?" And he said, "No." He said, "I just retired." I say, "Sir, do you know anything about the Las Vegas alien case?" And he said, "Yes, I interviewed the witness." And then him and I had a conversation.
I bet.
Yeah. And I showed him, he agreed to receive the findings and the research I did, which turned out to be an article in the MUFON Journal. And so I said, "Can I please send you the video overnight and have you look at it and tell me if it's all true or not, or what's true and what isn't?" And so he said, "Yeah." And so I sent him the research. And the next day I asked him what he thought about it. He said, "Well, everything you say in there was true, except for one thing." I said, "What was that?" He said, "Well, I didn't know I was an MIB and I left my black van home so nobody would be suspicious." So apparently he was the person who did the surveillance of the witness's property and the witness after the event had occurred. So he was a wealth of information, and that added, really, I should post a follow-up on that, but it's kind of like this case here. When I got the email from Russ Coulthard, it opened up a whole can of worms or next level of research. And I have like 38, 40 pages of research on the egg video. And also I've been in contact with John Gordon Blitch, PhD, former Army Special Forces guy. And him and I are going to have a talk. Right now, he's John Blitch is up in Leadville, Colorado, at doing high altitude training with military people. Leadville is like 10,000 feet above sea level.
Wow.
Yeah, and the Army has a facility up there that they do high altitude training, and apparently he's a trainer up there. So after he gets done with that, him and I are going to have a talk. I asked him if I could take him out to lunch or dinner, but he wasn't comfortable with meeting, even though he's a real special forces killer guy. Anyway, but let me share this research, which will give you an idea of what a photo forensic report should work on the 20-foot alien. So on 9/22/2024, and then I had a final on 9/28 because you keep collecting evidence. And so this is the Jesse 20-foot tall climber. So we had two witnesses, Jesse Clausen and Camille Aravella. They are young people who were climbing a 14er in Colorado, Longs Peak. What happened was they took pictures of themselves when they reached the peak or near the peak, and in the background appeared to be a 20-foot creature scaling a rock face behind them in the photo. And this became a viral event. Every news company in the world picked up the story and posted it. So what we do first is I posted the links to the videos in the report, and the witness Jesse video, one had no metadata and date, time, or geodata. The image had no metadata as it was a crop shot of the image, but this is the image that caused all the brouhaha. And what I did was I saw that they were part of a climbing club, and so I Facebooked the climbing club and asked them to have the witnesses contact me, that I was interested in researching it. And so I got an email from the girls. Okay. So it was shot with an Apple iPhone 15 Pro, f1.8, 1/2000 shutter speed, which probably means there was a lot of sun, even though it looks like there was overcast. ISO 100. Normally, when you're authenticating a video or a image, you really need to do more than one type of photo analysis to pull the metadata to match it up and make sure it's good. And for those of you who use forensically, my experience has been do not use the metadata function of forensically. I recommend using Pick2Map for videos and Pick2Map for stills and metadata to go for videos. They were at 13,989 feet. So they weren't quite at 14,000 yet, but you could see in the image, which we'll see more of. Let's see if I can bring this up. Oh, I can't. Here's the video. So there's the video. The lighting isn't good in this way we're doing this here. Okay, well, what you can't see in the way this is presented here is I have three images. One of them's a video. And in this space here, which you can't see, is a creature scaling the peak. And it's a pretty steep peak. And there were no clones detected. The noise analysis and error analysis showed no signs of the image having been photoshopped or altered or cropped. So sometimes with the forensically, it rotates to the left, but you could see this is the outline in an LG image of what was climbing the mountain. And that was about estimated to be about 20 feet long. Its head was forward and down. The left leg was bent as if in a climbing motion with two extended arms holding or lifting the body. This is a humanoid figure, or is it pareidolia? Here's another shot, PCA of the image, again sideways. The humanoid appears to be whitish in color. The rock is graphite and in dark color. If this is a humanoid, he might not be wearing any clothes. I mean, it doesn't look like he's wearing clothes. His body parts are out of proportion, and there may be some dysmorphia. So I took another shot, a 4 to 8x magnification with no enhancements, and I couldn't see anything in the image. And then what I did was I looked up medical terms to explain the uniformity or disproportion of the giant's anatomical proportions. And I found that there's a real disease called Marfan syndrome, which is an inherited disorder that affects connective tissue, the fibers that support and anchor your organs and other structures in your body. Marfan syndrome most commonly affects the heart, the eyes, the blood vessels, and the skeleton. People with Marfan syndrome are usually tall and thin, with unusually long arms, legs, and fingers and toes. The damage caused by Marfan syndrome can be mild or severe. If your aorta, the large blood vessel that carries the blood from your heart to the rest of the body, is affected, the condition can be life-threatening. So here's some shots of what it looks like. And I would say that if this was a real biological creature, they had Marfan syndrome. They had a tall and slender build, disproportionate long arms, legs, and fingers, a breastbone that protrudes outward or dips inward, a high arched palate and crown teeth, heart murmurs, extreme nearsightedness, abnormally curved firing, and flat feet. So, unfortunately, the reproduction of the videos are really hard to see. So some other guy sent in a picture of the same space, and there is a figure in this space here. So I was able to retrieve other photos from other people of the same space. And I did the photo analysis, the metadata on that. Again, I'm sorry that the copies are not good to see. I could send it to you in an email. I'll send it to you in an email and you can distribute it if you'd like, where they'll see it. Well, this one, the lighting is better. And you could see that the creature in this photo, he's in a different stance and there's something wonky about his right arm here. It looks more like a hook or a question mark than it does a real arm. Well, here's another shot of it. So it looks really weird. The metadata for this image was created on 9/16 at 1835. It's different than the original size that we have in the first image. That tells me it was done with a different camera. So this was taken on a different date, different time, using a different camera, a Motorola. The rock formation match up to the original, which tells us we are looking at the same location. I'm not too sure that the date created was the original date or the date of the download. Okay, I think you might be able to see that pretty good. An interested party provided this image to our witness after the viral news publications came out. The metadata for this subsequent Hayek image was not available. We have a location match with this image. We can clearly identify that a 20-foot humanoid creature is a rock formation. We can see the arms, legs, and torso are all rock. So we have the original, we have the wonky one, and then the one with the that shows that it's not a biological entity, it's a rock formation. The rock formations map the location. We have 3 different images, all the same location. There is a humanoid figure in all the images. That the pose changes as light conditions and the angle of the view shifts. The image taken in August was taken in the shade under a cloudy sky. The other 2 images were taken in sunny conditions later in the day. The 3rd image clearly shows the humanoid figure is a rock. I did the weather report, and then I have my summary and opinion. Once again, we use scientific methods to understand what we're looking at, but our conclusion is really an opinion. And the event being evaluated took place according to the metadata on the original image of 8/24 on 2024. We have two other images in the same exact location to make a comparison. The light conditions and the time of day were different on all three images. We have no metadata to determine the date and time on the third image, and the creation date on the second image is suspect. What's really important is we know that all three images, based on the weather conditions and the light conditions, were taken at a different time, which gives us three comparisons to be able to come up with a summary and an opinion. Two hikers climbed Long's Peak and took a photo near the top. When zooming in on the steep rock in the background, a humanoid figure, subsequently labeled by the media as the 20-foot tall creature, is hanging from the rock cliffs. The creature was at a far distance in the background behind the witnesses. The witnesses did not see the creature with their own eyes. That's our biggest sign for lens flare, as you guys know. The 20-foot tall person was naked, no shoes, no rock climbing equipment. The humanoid body proportions seem more or disproportionate. The arms and legs are too long. The 6.5-second original video scans the location too fast to track any motion in the humanoid. We only have the still shot, which does not show motion. The media is in a frenzy for this event. The event went viral. A second and third photo was provided to the witness, taken at a different time. These are our baseline images to make a comparison. The rock formations in all the images confirm the location match. The images were taken at different times based on weather and light conditions and the sun's positioning. A humanoid figure is present in all three images. In image 3, we can clearly see the humanoid figure is really a rock formation. AI technologies in the Apple iPhone 15 fill in distant and unclear objects to help them make make sense based on program logic. The original image was taken in low light conditions. iPhone 15 technologies shoot multiple images to create the best pictures in low light conditions. You guys know about that they're using AI conditions in Apple iPhones. So really in low light conditions, it'll shoot 4 images to make 1. So you're not really seeing what is really there. You are seeing a composite made from 4 shots. That happens in low light conditions. The 20-foot tall creature scaling a rock cliff face on Long's Peak is a rock formation enhanced by natural light conditions. The human interpretation of the image being a 20-foot tall humanoid creature is an example of pareidolia. Pareidolia is a tendency for applying meaningful interpretation based on nebulous stimulus so that a person detects patterns and meaning where there is none. Examples of pareidolia include looking at clouds and seeing angels or animals in cloud shapes. This case is a rock formation misidentified as a cryptic or alien giant. So that's the research on what I did for that. And that wasn't a MUFON case. So I've been, as you guys know, one of my other jobs with MUFON is I'm the team lead for the CMS coordinators. And back about 2 years ago, we were getting 150, 175 U.S. cases every week added to the CMS. And now we're only getting, 60, 70, maybe 75 cases added. A lot of this, as you guys know, has to do with the competition and them having big dollars to pay for placements. When you pull up MUFON, I've been told we don't come up to the 11th page or the 7th page for investigating sighting reports. And, so Enigma puts in big money to come up as the place to report sightings. So we're having a drop in sightings. And so I've been trying to push MUFON to investigating viral events on the internet. And the egg video was the first one that they did that was not a CMS report. And the first one I tried to get them to do was the Las Vegas alien. And they didn't want to do that. So I did it anyway. And then the second one I tried to get them to do was this 20-foot creature. And they said, we don't do cryptics, which we don't do cryptics. We know that. And then the third one, they pulled a PAT on it. So I'm very happy that happened. But what I learned is that you have to be cautious and try not to offend anyone.
Yeah.
And it's almost a political type of thing. And I like doing research, and I like talking about the research I do. But I don't like being the talent out there. I don't like doing the talent thing.
Yeah.
And I like sharing my research.
Yeah, I'm still kind of puzzling why, looking at I'm trying to imagine if I were in that situation, looking at those pictures, I don't think I would have picked out that rock formation as being a being at all. I don't think I'd even look twice at it. It makes me wonder why the hikers looked at that and go, "Hey, there's someone or something there." That seems kind of odd to me that they would have that impression.
Well, actually, you can't see on the the rendition of this, but when you're looking at it in not this third generation thing,
Mhm.
this is what you see. I mean, it's sideways because forensically turned it sideways,
Right, right.
but this is what you see climbing that rock, and it does look like somebody very big is climbing the rock. And so the girls, they just posted it on their climbing club Facebook, and something like Weird Colorado or whatever picked it up, and then everybody had it within
Right,
2 weeks. Everybody had the story, and
right.
these girls were getting contacted by everyone, and so I gave them the report, and I said, "You girls, feel free to send it out to every news agency or anybody you want.
Mhm.
Tell them the truth. Let's get the truth out there." Nobody followed up with any publication. They just wanted it to be anomalous.
Yep, yep,
All they're interested in doing, they don't care about the research.
yep,
What they want to do is sell papers, gain followers, and all
yep,
that kind of stuff. They
right.
don't really care if it's true or not.
Yeah.
We care if it's true because we're MUFON investigators,
Mhm.
right?
Exactly. Yep, yep. Well, we've only got a few minutes left. Does anybody have any questions for Seth? Please throw up a hand, raise your hand in the chat, or put a message in the chat, and because we got a couple minutes left, I'm sure Seth would be happy to take any of your questions if we've got any questions out there. Have anybody got any questions for Seth?
Well, I got a question for you guys.
Uh-oh, sure.
So when you do the Starlink reports, do you guys use Heavens Above to know whether a Starlink was citable in your area?
That's a common one we use. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So you do? Okay.
yeah. It's seem to be pretty accurate. There's so much stuff on there, it seems to, yeah, we rely on that one if it comes up that way.
Yeah, you just have to click back one day at a time to get to the right date.
Yep, yep. Well, we got a new message. Let's see if it's a question. So Carol says she's a visitor. So Carol, she says, "I love the professional approach and the scientific method. Well done." Do you want me to? I'm gonna ask you to unmute Karen and Carol in case you want to talk to Seth personally. So, oh, and then Bill McNeff is asking, when you saw the eggs on the ground, why no pics?
Okay. So, good question. Really good question. Okay. So we were in a field in Wyoming, and as you know, there are rattlesnakes in the field, and it's dark, and all of a sudden these egg crafts appear in the field, and what happened was there were four of us who drove into the field together, and we kind of held hands and did like a contact thing, sent up a pillar of light, imaginary pillar of light, and tried to create a contact situation. And then a guy in a pickup truck was on the property, and he drove up to us and he said, "What are you guys doing here?" And we said, "Well, we're here for UFO contact." And he looks at us and he says, "Wait here." Okay. And he drove off. We watched him drove off, and he starts signaling with his headlights on his truck.
Mhm.
And he starts signaling, and then he comes back to us. And we didn't introduce ourselves or give him our names and stuff. And what happened was all of a sudden there were 7 or 8 they were orange in color, and they were egg-shaped crafts, and they're not side to side, they're top to bottom as they're moving. And all of a sudden we were surrounded by 7 or 8 of these things. And they didn't just stand still, they were like hopscotching around the field. It was like they didn't just park and stop. And they were maybe the lowest was 5 feet off the ground or whatever, but they were moving all around us and hopscotching. And I go, "Well, does anybody know why they're here or what they want?" And the guy who we didn't say our names or introduce our names, and he says, "Well, is there anybody here by the name of Seth?" And I said, "No, my name is Seth. It's not Seth." Okay. And he said, "Well, the guy, his name is Zatar, and he's here to meet you."
Whoa.
Oh, I said, "Yeah, guess what happened?" I said, "Well, what is he, a humanoid or what?" He goes, "He's a gray." And guess what? I went into shock. I didn't have a cell phone back then. This was like over 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah, yep, yep.
But everybody has cell phones now to take pictures.
Right, right.
But I was really scared, and I went into shock. So I couldn't even think of recording any data or
Did you
bringing
meet with him
anything
then or
back.
no? Did you meet
Huh?
with him? Did you meet with him then or no?
No, I got told that the reason he didn't come out or bring me in was because I was in shock.
Ah, okay. Okay.
That's what happened.
Yep, yep.
But I've had 3 up close and personal experiences in my life, so and
Wow.
that was the most significant one.
Wow. Very cool. Well, someone doesn't have a question, but they want to thank you for your persistence in your analysis, and thank you for stopping the mass hysteria for these types of misinformed events cases. So yeah, so thank you for all that. And as long as we're thanking you, I think I'm going to try to see if we can unmute everybody, but we'd like to give Seth a big round of applause, give you a clap round of applause. And thanks, Seth, for his fantastic presentation. Thanks for coming out and visiting with us, Seth, and sharing all
Thanks,
that information
guys.
with us.
It's a
Yeah.
pleasure.